One day, an enemy sultan sent Queen Tamar a letter, proclaiming that every woman is feeble of mind and telling her to surrender and become his concubine. Tamar's response was so disturbing, it's impossible to forget. Queen Tamar is something of a puzzle to historians. They have trouble believing that someone could be so pious and kind-hearted, but also responsible for so many gruesome battles. But why can't it be both? Her piousness actually seemed to help make her such a powerful, successful queen, in battle and otherwise. Born around 1160, Tamar had some serious supposed pedigree. The Georgian dynasty claimed to be descendants of possibly the most famous king of Israel, King David. For Christians, that was the next best thing after being descended from Jesus Christ himself. Still, Christian though she was, Tamar would go on to do many things the Bible forbid. In 1178, when she was just about 18 years old, Tamar's father named her as his co-ruler, making her Georgia's first queen. Still, that wasn't quite good enough for her. She wanted there to be absolutely no confusion about her intentions, which were to rule exactly like a king. As a result, she started calling herself a king of the kings. It was the first of many power moves. Powerful people attract power-hungry people. So when Tamar became queen, a bunch of people started trying to take power away from her. One named Kutlu tried to set up a council that would be able to make the rules instead of the queen. This did not go well for them. Sometimes when a man made Queen Tamar angry, she exiled him to another country. So maybe the politician Kutlu was grateful that she simply had him detained and then threw him in prison as the leader of her opposition. But Tamar wasn't unnecessarily cruel and soon showed Kutlu's supporters some mercy. Queen Tamar didn't throw everyone in prison, only Kutlu. She told the rest of his clan that they should simply abandon their leader, give up, and go home. So they did. You see, it's not so much that she had to show them who was boss. It's more like that was just who she was, the boss. But they would soon test her again. After Kutlu's friends got home, they had an unwise change of heart. They turned around, marched up to Queen Tamar again, and demanded that she release Kutlu from where he was languishing in prison. But she wasn't in the least afraid. When Kutlu's band of rebels demanded their leader's release, Tamar sent 2 noble women to negotiate. I don't know what those women said, but judging by the way the men responded, it must have been pretty scary. In short order, the 2 women Tamar had sent to do her dirty work for her had the rebels on their knees, swearing loyalty and obedience to the queen they were planning to attack just seconds before. When Kutlu got out of prison, he and his allies again tried to implement their brilliant idea of a power share with Tamar. Except their plans never really got off the ground. The entire time, Queen Tamar strung them along and let them think she was open to negotiation, but shut them down at every turn. Tamar is remembered with such reverence that someone once said that she was endowed with the intelligence and courage of a man. A big compliment for the medieval period. Kutlu? Not so much. One chronicler referred to him as a boy and a mule. In Tamar's court, and the court of public opinion, Kutlu was finished, but Queen Tamar was about to meet her almost match. One annoying thing about being a queen, you usually don't get to pick your own husband. You marry whoever is going to be good for the kingdom and thus decide by people who apparently know better than you do. Thus, Tamar's aunt picked her husband for her. Even so, Tamar may have been excited about her aunt's choice based on what we know about him. In some ways, Tamar's potential husband wasn't terrible on paper. The man Uri was a prince, politically important, a good soldier, and, like Tamar herself, was physically attractive. Uri physically attractive if you believe the source that said he was perfect of body. Unfortunately, looks aren't everything. Tamar's new husband Uri may have been good-looking, but he was also something of a total slop. He was inebriated nearly all the time. More than that, As their marriage wore on, he also developed a taste for power and started liking it just a little too much. But there was one more problem. Given that this was a political marriage, Yuri didn't exactly choose Tamar either, and may have had his own reasons to be unhappy about his bride. In fact, there were rumors that he was gay. None of this made for a blessed union, and Yuri reportedly grew more and more miserable as time went on. But if you think that Tamar just suffered through this, think again. She took drastic action instead. Divorce was not thought kindly upon in the 12th century medieval uber-Christian kingdom of Georgia. But Tamar didn't let that stop her. So after 2 years of an increasingly doomed marriage, she went to the very orthodox Georgian church leaders and asked for a divorce. Their response was incredible. Somehow, in 1187, Tamar successfully persuaded the religious leaders to grant her the divorce. She herself was a pious Christian, but obviously extremely charming, because the Georgian religious leaders and all the nobles agreed to move the divorce forward. They didn't need to think twice, which maybe in retrospect they should have, because their decision came back to haunt them. Soon after her divorce, she arranged to have her ex-husband Yuri sent far away, 800 miles away to be exact, to Constantinople, a completely different country where they spoke a different language. He didn't react gracefully to this. Tamar enjoyed 3 blissful, Yuri-free years. Only that all came to an end when Yuri trekked back to Georgia from Constantinople and staged a coup against her, or tried to stage a coup. He failed, and was so little of a threat that Tamar didn't even bother imprisoning him, which she might have regretted because of what happened next. Even though Tamar pardoned him after the first coup, which is much more than he deserved, Yuri tried to stage another rebellion against her and failed again. You'd think he'd learned, but apparently good looks don't equal smart brain. But one good thing did come of these coups. Even though Tamar was powerful, she wasn't demolishing rebels single-handedly. One person in particular was excessively devoted to her, the handsome David Soslin, who was a prince, one of her aunt's students, and extremely good at fighting. It's this last bit that would make David so important for Tamar. Whether or not Tamar was following her emotions or a strategy to have the strongest man on her side, she made sure to marry David as soon as possible, tying the knot in 1189. Prince David would soon prove his loyalty to her, in possibly the most dramatic way. Is there any better fantasy than defeating your ex in battle? What about the fantasy where you don't even break a nail because your current husband does it for you? That's right. Tamar's new husband David helped defeat Tamar's ex-husband Yuri and his band of goons who tried to depose her twice, and the new power couple were just getting started. Tamar was a hands-on ruler, and she often rode with her men, particularly relishing in the moments she could deliver rousing speeches to her subjects before they rode into battle for her. Given all her conquests, these were clearly very motivational speeches. Believe it or not, Tamar gave away a lot of her money to those in need. When she heard that a group of monks' living quarters had burned down, she sent them money to dramatically improve their living situation. Just to install an irrigation system, build a mill, and plant a big garden. But even when she was being generous, she didn't let people forget how fearsome she could be. One time, Tamar again left money for some monks in Constantinople, only to find out that the Byzantine Empire at the time, Alexios III Angelos, promptly confiscated the money for himself. Her response? She set her sights on Angelos's territory and Trebizond in modern-day Turkey and sent in the army. Tamar did not forget about her monk friends while she was off fighting the person who had stolen from them. Not only did she send them money again, she sent them even more money than she had originally. And she might have had a premonition of success about the new territory she was invading, because this time she went big. Even the Byzantine emperor himself couldn't stand in the way of Tamar. She defeated him and took over part of his territory. In a brilliant move, She then gave its rule to one of her younger cousins, who could then act as her staunch ally and extend the strength of her network. Tamar did not need studies to show that universal basic income actually improves the well-being of the whole nation. She spread her wealth around, giving 10% of all the country's wealth to the lower classes, after first forgiving their debts. And these people weren't just getting pennies either, they were getting much more. There's a reason that Queen Tamar's reign is called George's Golden Age. With all the tributes she received from the places she had conquered, Georgians were partying in style. One person remarked that peasants were like nobles, the nobles like princes, and the princes like kings. But her generosity didn't stop there. Even Tamar, who had no problem leading battles, pillaging and plundering, knew that some forms of punishment are just inhumane. So she abolished the worst torture punishments. In turn, this contributed even more to her huge popularity. Merciful and smart, Queen Tamar's endless conquering during her heyday put some very powerful men on edge. When one neighboring sultan, Suleiman II, saw Tamar and David's successes, he got so worried that he sent Tamar a letter. When one of the generals under her command read it, he was so incensed that he slapped the messenger in the face and knocked him unconscious. What was in that letter, you ask? More than enough to warrant that reaction. The Sultan started the letter by declaring that every woman is feeble of mind, then added a bit in the middle, demanding that Tamar and her armies should surrender immediately, but he saved his worst for last. The Sultan ended the missive by saying that after they surrendered to him, Tamar could become his wife if she converted to Islam, or his concubine if she didn't. The Sultan's messenger, when he regained consciousness, went back and told the Sultan that Tamar would not be surrendering. Then she got her real revenge. Why reply to a mean email when you can just obliterate the person? Queen Tamar's army, rallied by another of her amazing speeches and led by her extremely capable husband David, destroyed Suleiman II's army and took over his territory. Most saints are canonized after they've died, but Queen Tamar was so revered that she was actually named a saint while she was still alive. Even so, sainthood didn't make her immortal, and when her end came, it was shocking for her people. Queen Tamar did not call in sick for work. One morning in 1213, she woke up and probably felt healthy, but by then, she was 53 years old. While holding a business meeting in the middle of her summer residence, Queen Tamar suddenly fell ill. There would be no victorious comeback this time. 53 years old is nothing today, but back in the 12th century, it was more like 75, and Queen Tamar eventually succumbed to her illness. Her final resting place? A monastery, fitting since she was friends with so many monks, but today, we still have no idea where exactly she's buried. Some think her burial place was kept secret on purpose. Scholars have looked, pilgrims have looked, and probably some heartbroken medieval men have looked, but no one has actually found Queen Tamar's actual burial place. It's probably in a secret cubby somewhere in the Jaladi Monastery, which, as it happens, you can visit today. The monastery is still intact 100 years later, and entrance is free. Thanks for watching History Exposé. If you love uncovering the best stories in history, hit like and subscribe to keep exploring with us. Don't forget to visit our main page, Factinate, for more incredible facts about everything.